A very good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's class. We'll be conducting a section test today. Just allow me to quickly gauge if we are live. Yes, we are. We are live. So I'll be taking you through a section test of the verbal ability section, obviously, and let's see how we perform, and this will help us develop a lot of perspective about where we lie in terms of our preparation for the impending cat exam, and basically iron out the areas that we need to pay special attention across the next 2-3 days, right? All right. So allow me to quickly give you an introduction of the Unacademy platform before we begin with the test. Unacademy is India's largest learning platform when it comes to preparing for any sort of competitive exam. This YouTube channel is particularly for management exams such as your CAT, GMAT, NMAT, ZAT, and the likes. I am Prankur Arora. I'll be taking you on this journey of learning wherein I'll essentially cater to themes and aspects pertaining to the verbal ability and reading comprehension portions of these exams. I've been in the learning industry for a better part of the last couple of years, where I've even consulted with organizations such as, Marico, Becton Dickinson, Interglobe Air Transport, FMC Corporation, PGCIL, and the likes. I am also a published author. I hold advanced certifications in facilitation from Leadership Management International. It is an organization based out of Texas in the United States of America. And I co-founded a startup very recently. The company is called Thought Sutra. Thought Sutra is essentially an initiative to empower the creative arts ecosystem. So yeah, that's pretty much about me. Welcome aboard this journey of learning. I assure you, we'll have a great deal of fun and learning together. Right? There are quite a lot of features that add to the Unacademy pedagogy. Some of those features include giving you access to daily life classes, such as this one, wherein all interaction between the learner and the educators happens in real time. And we regularly conduct tests and quizzes as well to help you develop a lot of perspective about your learning journey, right? We give you data on your performance in these tests and quizzes, data that helps you evaluate yourself and take stock of where you are versus where you ought to be. All the courses on the platform are pretty much structured and very much in line with the exam syllabus to help you get the best of everything. And with one subscription you get unlimited access to anything and everything, all kinds of live and recorded courses that you can essentially watch and avail from the comfort of any of your devices, right? uh, as I mentioned, there are quite a lot of educators on the platform, all of them being highly credible people. These are educators who've over the years mentored, various aspirants into top tier business and management institutions, right? And the idea essentially is that uh, you can avail classes from all these educators for free before deciding whether you want to avail the additional benefits that come along with subscription or not. All right. And new batches, new courses by these very educators, they keep on going live, and language is never a barrier either, because we've got educators who teach in vernacular languages as well. So if you're not as comfortable in English, I'm pretty sure you can get hold of somebody who's teaching in a regional language that you were brought upon, right? And all interaction on the platform, it happens in real time, right? You can ask questions, engage in discussions, basically spark a discussion over the chat on the platform, as well as question answers are conducted in the form of live polls, right? So that is another adrenaline rush altogether, because then you participate in those live polls and you compete for a place on the leaderboard, and that leaderboard is broadcast to anybody and everybody who's participating in that lesson. So it's another adrenaline rush altogether. And as I said, everything, all tests and quizzes are essentially conducted so that we can give you in-depth insights and data on your performance. and that data will help you evaluate where you lie versus where you want to be. Also, throughout the class, you'll see that I'll be scribbling a lot of stuff on the class notes. All these class notes, along with the educator annotations, they're made available to you once you subscribe to the platform. Talking of subscription, these are the various models. You can clearly see that as the time period goes up, the cost of subscription per month is going down. And if you use my name Prankur, Prankur, you get an extra 10% off on any of the subscriptions that you go for, right? Having said that, let's begin with the lesson for the day. We start with a parajumbles question, right? uh, Quickly solve this and hit me up on the chat with your answer, and then we'll move on to the next question. Right, let's read the sentences out loud now. All levels of demand, whether individual, aggregate, local, national, or international, are subject to change. At the same uh, science and technology add new dimensions to products, their uses, and the methods uh, used to market them. Aggregate demand fluctuates with changes in the level of business activity, GNP, and national income. The demand of individuals tends to vary with changing needs or rising income. Right. So we can clearly see that the sentence, rather not the sentence, but the paragraph, it cannot begin with C, D, or B. Why is that? Because B and D clearly are continuation of previous sentences. There has to be something that comes before, only then can you have a sentence that begins with at the same time, because this is not an introductory phrase, this is a transitionary phrase. You're building upon something that has been said before. Also, the demand of individuals tends to vary with changing needs or rising income. We can clearly see that here the demand of individuals, you're talking about a particular kind of demand, right? And here also you're talking about a particular kind of demand. You're talking about aggregate demand. Here you're talking about demands of individuals, right? So you have to have an introductory sentence that introduces the concept of demand before, right? Sentence such as sentence A. All levels of demand, whether individual, aggregate, local, national, or international, are subject to change. So A is your opener. After A, you have D, where you talk about demand of individuals, that it tends to vary with changing needs or rising income. Then you talk about aggregate demand, it fluctuates with changes in the level of business activity, GNP, and national income. And finally, you have sentence B, which says, at the same time, science and technology add new dimensions to products, their uses, and the methods used to market them. A, D, C, B in that context, uh, is basically essentially becomes your most appropriate answer option. A, D, C, B. Let's move on to the next question now. Secret persons shall strike with weapons, fire, or poison. Clans mutually supporting each other shall be made to strike at the weak points. He shall destroy their caravans, herds, forests, and troop reinforcements. The conqueror shall cause enemy kingdom to be destroyed by neighboring kings, jungle tribes, pretenders, or unjustly treated princes. Right. So we can clearly see when we look at all these sentences, that we're talking about war, and that we're talking about strategy of attack, right? So if we look at sentence C, he shall destroy their caravans, herds, forests, and troop reinforcements. The trick is to identify whom this pronoun he refers to. Who are we talking about, right? Because then that will form the link, that will form a mandatory pair, and when we have our mandatory pair with us, then we can move forward, right? So in that context, DC becomes a mandatory pair because we are talking about the conqueror. Obviously, he obviously clearly refers to the conqueror. The conqueror shall cause enemy kingdom to be destroyed by neighboring kings, jungle tribes, pretenders, or unjustly treated princes. He shall destroy their caravans, herds, forests, and troop reinforcements. And then we have B. Clans mutually supporting each other shall be made to strike at the weak points. Secret persons shall strike with weapons, fire, or poison. Right? So DC is a mandatory pair. We begin with that, and then we have DCBA as a very logically coherent paragraph. Right? So this is a slightly tricky one for which we'll have to follow the process of elimination, right? And I'll tell you how to go about doing it if you haven't done it yet. The idea being that uh, we can't obviously begin the paragraph with sentence C. We have only two options. If we look at the options A and C, right, we cannot have C as the opener because a laborious career than the lucky fluke of, than obviously cannot come in isolation. This sentence as a beginner, as an opener, does not make sense logically, grammatically. It does not make sense because we are using than cannot come in isolation. You need to have more before it, right? So in all likelihood, D comes before C, right? And why is that? Because we need it to be more than, right? More likely to come as the culminating point of a laborious career than the lucky fluke of, right? That makes sense, and that is why we'll eliminate options 1 and 3. And as I said, D comes before C, so we eliminate option 4 as well. We're only left with option 2, right? Where we go, but a masterpiece is more likely to come as the culminating point of a laborious career than the lucky fluke of untaught genius. So ADCB in that context becomes the most appropriate answer option. Right. So, the rule that we have to follow in this paragraph is that we have two kinds of pronouns here. One is we have personal pronouns where we are using I, and then we are going the very generic route where we are using ones, right? So, in such cases, we always move from general to specific. We'll move from impersonal pronoun to a personal pronoun, right? A rule that we follow in parajumbles is general to specific, and similarly here we'll move from impersonal to personal, right? That is why we will not have our paragraph opening with D or the paragraph opening with B. We'll only have a paragraph opening with C. And because we have to move from impersonal to personal, so after C, we will have A, right? One does not die immediately after one has made one's will. One makes one's will as a precaution. To have settled one's affairs is a very good preparation to leading the rest of one's life without concern for the future. When I have finished this book, I shall know where I stand. I can afford then to do what I choose with the years that remain to me. So CABD in that context becomes a very, very appropriate, structuring of this paragraph, arrangement of this paragraph. All right. Hope you've understood this. Let's move on to the next question. Right. Let's look at all these sentences. What interests you is the way in which you have created the illusion. They are angry with you, for it was. The public is easily disillusioned, and then the illusion they love, they do not understand that. So, what is basically the flow of this paragraph? It is very important to understand what the flow of this paragraph is. The flow of this paragraph essentially is that we're trying to say that there is there's this public, there's this audience which is disillusioned, and it has basically become angry because of that disillusionment, right? The public, the audience is disillusioned, and it has become angry because of that disillusionment, because they don't understand that you are creating that illusion, right? So the idea essentially is that, right? So we'll begin with the sentence C here to basically state the fact that the public is easily disillusioned, and then they're angry with you, and then they're angry with you, for it was the illusion they loved. They do not understand that what interests you is the way in which you have created the illusion, right? So CBDA in that context becomes the most appropriate arrangement of the sentences here, because you are expressing the fact that the public is disillusioned, and then they are angry because they don't understand what you did, right? So CBDA essentially is the answer in this case, right? I hope you've understood this. Let's move on to a para completion question now. When we call others dogmatic, what we really object to is, right? So that is what the question here is, that when we call others dogmatic, dogmatic कौन होते हैं? Whom do we refer to as dogmatic? Dogmatic is basically opinionated people who don't welcome if others have a different perspective, if others have a different opinion, they don't welcome that, right? So these are the kind of people whom we call dogmatic, right? So when we call others dogmatic, what we really object to is their holding dogmas that are different from our own, right? They don't welcome other opinions, they don't welcome other kinds of opinions, right? So therefore B will be the answer option in this case, right? Let's move on to the next question. I am an entertainer, dash 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 dash, comma. I have to keep smiling because in my heart, laughter and sorrow have an affinity. Right? So look for an answer option that basically contrasts with this, contrasts to this. I'm an entertainer. Dash, I have to keep smiling because in my heart, laughter and sorrow have an affinity. So, laughter and sorrow have an affinity is a hint. That means that you'll express here something that is kind of a contrast to this, that is kind of the opposite to smiling, right? So, look for that answer option. Right. Hi, Yogesh. Welcome to the class. Even if I have tears in my eyes, is the correct answer option in this case. Well done. Let's move on to the next question. The stock markets dash, the state they are in right now speaks volumes about this fact. B is the correct answer. The stock markets are the best indicators of public sentiment. The state they are in right now speaks volumes about this fact. Well done. This is a sentence correction question now. They wanted to know that we could extend the required help. D is correct. If we could extend the required help, this whenever we have conditional sentences, conditional phrases, we make use of if. Well done. The priest describes expectations as the root cause of all miseries. E is the correct answer, no correction required. Why? Because again, this is a conditional sentence, right? It is conditional. Why? Because we are saying that expectation is the reason for miseries, right? Expectation is the reason. Also, whenever we use describe as a verb, describe ke sath we always make use of as, right? So describe is always accompanied with as whenever describe is a verb, right? Let's move on to the next question. D is the correct answer. Had he worked hard for the test, he would have passed. The idea essentially being here we are making use of conditional perfect tense, right? And the idea in this case is that whenever we are forming conditional perfect tense, the construction is had he would have. Similarly, had she would have, had they would have, right? You just change the pronouns. Now you have to identify the part that contains the error in this case. C. Yes, C is the correct answer. Film viewers claim that we are talking about the number, right? And whenever we are, just give me a moment. That's right. So film viewers claim that the number with the number has increased instead of have. Exactly, the number is singular, right? Now, very important thing to remember is that the number is singular because we are referring to a very specific number. But had this been a number, right? Had this been a number where the number is unspecified, then it would have been plural. A number is plural, the number is singular. Yes, good job. Next one. B. Yes, B is the correct answer. 40% of the people alive today have never made a phone call. But is the wrong conjunction here. It should have been and. And 30% still have no electricity connections to their homes. Right? We use but only when we have to express a contrasting sentiment, a different sentiment. But here, the sentiment of the sentence remains the same. In both the cases, you're talking about a lack of things. That is why you'll use and as the conjunction and not but. B. No, Yogesh, B is incorrect here. A is the answers. Neither of my brothers. Whenever you have a sentence that begins with neither or either, right? Then your verb takes a singular form. So neither of my brothers does anything to make life better for our parents who are both suffering from cancer. So whenever we have neither or either, and they are used in an isolated fashion, our verb takes a singular form, right? And whenever we have, the complete neither nor either or construction, neither x nor y. So in this case, your verb takes the form of y, right? If y is plural, your verb will be plural. If y is singular, your verb will be singular. For example, neither uh, my parents nor I, neither my parents nor my sister likes uh, apples. So because after nor I have my sister. My sister is singular. So the verb is likes, right? And likes is a singular verb. Had this been neither my sister nor my parents like apples, right? Because after nor the noun is my parents. My parents is plural, so your verb is plural. So the verb is like. So whenever we have neither nor construction or either or construction, the y noun or noun phrase that comes after nor is basically what we try to keep in tandem with the verb. Instead of life, anything to make, instead, in which condition lives could have taken place in this situation sentence. To make lives better for our parents. Uh, See, grammatically, life is correct here. To make life better for our parents. The idea being you're talking about your parents as one unit, right? And that is why you're saying life. They lead a life together. They live this life together. So basically, it is talking about a combination of two lives which come together to make one life because you view them as a unit. You view the parents as a unit, right? So that is why we say it like that. All right. Neither of my brothers does anything to make life better for our parents. Grammatically, with neither, you always have a singular verb. All right. Okay. The purpose of organizing all these activities So this is basically testing you on parallelism of verbs, right? So the purpose of organizing all these activities is more to instruct than to provide entertainment, right? So D is the incorrect part here. So whenever we have basically, two verbs that have the same callback, that have the same reference, when two verbs are kind of forming a list, right? The both of them, they have to be uniform in their construction, right? So since we are talking about the purpose is more to instruct than to provide. So more X than Y is the correlative here, and X and Y, they have to be parallel, they have to be uniform in the construction. So more to instruct than to provide entertainment. All right, hope you've understood this. I think we'll begin with a comprehension now. So, quickly read through this paragraph and tell me what you understand from it in terms of what is the subject of the paragraph and what is the main idea of the paragraph, right? When we talk of subject, by subject I mean what is the author talking about or who is the author talking about. Main idea is why is the author talking about them or how is the author talking about them. So typically what I recommend is that after every paragraph you must know these two things, right? Just jot them down and then move on to the next paragraph, so that when you're tackling the questions you don't have to reread the paragraphs again to figure out where you will find the answer. You know for a fact what detail every paragraph carries. Let me know once you've read this and then I'll move on to the next paragraph. Are you done with the paragraph, Yogesh? Can we move on to the next one? So essentially, this paragraph, what it's talking about is the collapse that, yeah, what this paragraph is talking about is the collapse that Maya civilization had, and the fact that archaeologists can't seem to agree what was the reason of that collapse. And then they mention that there are essentially five strands of reasons, right? So this passage will be talking about one strand after another. Yeah. Let me know once you're done reading this one as well, and then I'll move on to the third paragraph. Done? Cool. Cool. Paragraph 4. Now we are talking about the fifth strand here. All right, cool. So let's begin with the questions. The first question is, according to the passage, which of the following best represents the factor that has been cited by the author in the context of Rwanda and Haiti? Do you want me to take you back to the passage? This is a retrieval question. You have to basically retrieve information from the passage. Or did you make notes and you remember what this reference is talking about? Alright, I'll take you back to the passage for this one. Right? With those caveats, it appears to me that one strand, this is the first strand, consisted of population growth outstripping available resources. A dilemma similar to the one foreseen by Thomas Malton and being played out today in Rwanda, Haiti, and elsewhere. Right? So, population growth outstripping available resources. So, with that context, the answer is A and not B. Right? B is only talking about land, but they were talking about resources in general. So land and other resources is more appropriate than land resources, right? So in that context, A is the answer. Question B. By an anthropogenic drought, the author means what? Okay, so I'll take you back to the passage again to help you develop context. Uh, where were we talking about anthropogenic drought? Yeah. So when we are saying, just look at this, right? Second strand, the effects of deforestation and hillside erosion, which caused a decrease in the amount of usable farmland at a time when more rather than less farmland was needed, and possibly exacerbated by an anthropogenic drought resulting from deforestation by soil nutrient depletion and soil problems. Right? So, deforestation is, but who caused the deforestation? So, anthropogenic typically is originated from anthropology, which means you know caused by humans, caused by human action, right? So deforestation was also the action of human beings back then, right? So the idea essentially being, we are talking about an anthropogenic drought, a drought that was caused by actions of human beings. All right. According to the passage, the drought at the time of Maya collapse had a different impact compared to droughts earlier because. C is the correct answer. It happened when the Maya population had occupied all available land suitable for agriculture. According to the author, why is it so difficult to explain the Maya collapse? C. So the answer to this one is D, that it has not been possible to ascertain which of the factors best explains as to why the Maya civilization collapsed. That is why they have five strands of reasons, because they're not able to zero in on one. One is that they seem interconnected as well, and the second is that they don't know which of the one contributed the maximum to cause this collapse of the civilization. This is what was mentioned in paragraph 1 as well, but this is not the uh, a direct reason. A direct reason is that they don't know which factor best caused it. So that is why it is so difficult to explain the Maya collapse, right? The question is, which factor has not been cited as one of the factors causing the collapse of Maya society? All right. So the idea in this one is, which factor has not been cited? Environmental degradation due to excess population. This was cited as a reason. Social collapse due to excess population was cited as a reason. Increased warfare was also cited as a reason. Climate change was cited as a reason. Obsession of Maya population with their own short term concerns. So instead of Maya population, it was obsession of Maya rulers, the leaders. They were only concerned with short term goals and short term benefits. I'll take you back to the last paragraph. I think here is where they mention it, right? Um, right. Maya kings sought to outdo each other with more and more impressive temples covered with thicker and thicker plaster, reminiscent in turn of extravagant conscious consumption by The passivity of Easter thieves and Maya kings in the face of real big threats to their societies completes our list of disquieting parallels. Right? So, the idea being that they were only concerned with short term benefits, they did not pay any heed to long term problems. Right? They were talking about Maya kings. The author talked about Maya kings as they were concerned with only short term benefits and short term goals. Right, so with this we've come to the end of today's class. If you have, if you if you take special classes as well, Yogesh, I'm conducting another section test in the evening at 6 p.m. on the Unacademy app. So you can look me up on the Unacademy app, and at 6 o'clock I'm conducting a special class there. Special classes are free classes, so you can join me there. 6 p.m. I'll be conducting a section test yet again. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, Yogesh. I had a blast teaching you, and hope to see you again. Hope to see you again. No, it is not the plus program, it is the special class. So, special classes are free classes. So, on the app, you can take a special class by me for free, right? And you can do that on a daily basis. You don't have to subscribe for the plus program. Special classes are free. So, 6 o'clock in the evening, it is a free class wherein I'll be conducting a section test, right? So, it will be different questions, and most of them will be previous year questions. Plus program is when you do courses. Special classes are free classes on the platform. So you can do unlimited number of special classes, and all of them are free. All right? Yeah. So in any case, YouTube pay I'll keep on taking classes on a daily basis, right? On YouTube's yeah. All right. Thank you, Yogesh. Thank you so much. See you. Bye bye. Take care. Stay safe and stay strong.